We're going to talk about the future of work today, but the first thing I would like to do is just to acknowledge the country that we're on today. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land on which we are standing and pay respect to elders past and present, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture and the hopes of Indigenous Australians. I start today's presentation with an acknowledgement of country, as I think there's so much we can learn from Indigenous elders, brothers, sisters, about imagining the future and learning from the past and taking our stories with us from the past into the future. So I'd also like to acknowledge KPMG for its commitment and ability to create and imagine the future and the future workplace, and enabling me to do what I love doing, which is in HR. People have that background. Did I need to actually do that? I'm sort of conscious that I was given the wrong room, so it's been a little bit of a, gee, these people don't look like career people. And they were all, it did say Investing Australia at the front, so that was a bit of a dead giveaway.
Okay, if you could just give a little bit of background as to what people experience and reward actually means.
Oh, yeah, why don't I do that? Okay, great. I love interactive, so if you want to interrupt me, we're good to go. Can you hear me without the mic, or do I need to have a bit of that?
No,
yeah,
you're fine.
Yes, someone said yes. Okay, I'll have it sort of close. So I'm head of people experience at KPMG, and it's got some nuts and bolts stuff in it, like performance and reward, and some clear, tangible deliverables. Because some people say to me, is people experience like the vibe? Well, it's sort of a little bit like the vibe, but it's a bit more than that. So it's actually bringing the customer experience or the user experience that we've seen in marketing and consumer workplaces quite evidently over the last decade and a half into HR. So have people heard of the FANG effect? Who am I doing? A totally different presentation, but anyway, it's all good. So the FANG effect is Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, right? So people's attention span has been eroded by the FANG effect. If it's not quick, sharp, groovy, easy, click through, I don't know whether people probably here are old enough to remember having to plug your laptop into the phone line and then listen to the sound to get up. I mean, can you imagine saying to someone, look, you don't have to do that if you work from home? Like, they just would not do it. So, so people experience, I'm old, I've been in HR for over 20 years, and I think about some of the performance systems I put in place decades ago, and they were big. They had lots of paper, there were forms to fill in, there was stuff to do, la la la. Doing that today, it just wouldn't cut it. People would just say, I'm not doing that, just not doing it. That's it. But in those days, people did do it because they were told to do it, and that was the expectation. So people's expectations have grown so much, but also people's attention span and the experience they expect has also changed. So when you come into work in a top 4 global consulting firm, you're expecting a pretty good experience. So we need to make sure that we match that. So that's a bit of a background on people experience. So I've got a quick quote here is around the employee-employer relationship has been broken, and I think I probably just described that probably adequately in that last story, but it's more and more a dilemma around people trying to offer, people wanting lifetime employment. By the time you've hired someone, you never want them to leave. But also people who come just are really looking for a different career experience. We're seeing more and more people don't want to just go straight up the ladder. They're looking for, what can I stick on my tray, I call it. So I've got a platter of experiences that I want to actually get at this level before I go to the next level, or decide I want to sort of deeply specialise in one of those, or put 2 of them together, or the world's disrupted so much, there's something totally new to do later. And if I think about someone we hired recently, they actually sought out someone who they thought, so actually that they were looking for roles, they went onto LinkedIn and looked for people who they would like to work for, and then they went and interviewed them over coffee. Well, luckily one of our people was interviewed twice, and then they put together a proposal of what they could do in his team, and he went, actually I hadn't thought of that, that is a really great idea, come and meet Matt also, and let's build this thing out and come on board. So a totally different way of hiring people and thinking about how we grow our business. So how we live is really moving to, that hasn't worked very well, that actually had animation, but because we're on a PDF, so just, go like that and imagine that it's doing that. So really, how we live is really how we work. So if you think about offices look more like home. We've all got a home office, and cafes are somewhere between work and home. You know, it's not unusual to see someone by themselves with a laptop, happily punching away with the coffee and a donut. So what we've been really experimenting with over the last couple of years is our workplaces and what they can do and how we can work in different ways. We've looked at how we can build out an agile workforce and how do we offer, you know, some of these different experiences for our future people at work. So we're seeing 5 key trends emerge across the workplace, and one is the competitive advantage of your workplace. So people know the experience is good, they know the building's state of the art. We're actually talking this morning about just how expectations have increased over time. So again, using my 20-year experience, and a long time ago I used to do triathlon. So to get a building that you worked in that had a shower so you could do stuff at lunchtime and have a shower and get back to work, you know, that was lucky. If you went to a workplace now that didn't have full bathroom facilities, I don't know whether you're having a tour today and you get down into the basement, but you know, we have hair straighteners, there's hair dryers, the towels, they don't have to bring your own towel, it's so cool. So the workplace is really becoming a piece of competitive advantage for employing people of the future. Wellbeing, so we know through Linda Grattan's research in the Future of Work out of London Business School that wellbeing is becoming a not-negotiable factor for millennials in the workplace. They don't so much expect you to have gym programs and things that are running in the workplace. They're going to do that anyway. They already have, you know, what they've got. But if we're going to live to 100, and if you haven't read that book, 100-Year Life, and you want to scare yourself on a holiday, I suggest you do that. It's an amazing book. But if people live to 100, to fund that, we're going to have to work till we're about 75. I know, great news on a morning. But if you are going to work till 75, you want to work somewhere where you can feel healthy and engaged. So wellbeing is becoming, you know, more and more an important element, especially with mental health and making sure we can keep our people mentally as well as physically well. And at KPMG, we really tried to normalise the conversation around mental health in the workplace. The third trend is about working anywhere and everywhere, so it's 24/7, we're never off. You know, the blur between work and life now is so different, and I think, you know, that is a real challenge for people to think about their own resilience and when you get time to recharge and how you recharge. So when do you have some time to you actually turn off and say, you know, actually no, I'm cordoning off this time for family, I'm not listening to the phone, I'm not going to check it. We've also got to check ourselves, you know, like I've got a teenager, so, you know, she's constantly, yeah. Barely looking at me. At dinner last night I had to actually seriously confiscate the phone. The work-life integration, which I think I talked about being in that fourth one. And the fifth one is a culture of sharing. So you would have seen around crowdfunding and seed funding and all of the different things that happen over the internet that actually brings a different human characteristic to the workplace and also to the way that we interact with people. It is becoming more and more collaborative with, you know, with the internet facilitating that. So, right, that's interesting. I'm just going page down. No? I was going to talk about our new buildings and show you a picture of them. Anything? No? No? Well, that's not good. Well, while you're pulling on tea, I'll just talk through some of the bits, and you can just imagine again through mind's eye some of the pictures that are seriously fantastic size. So I had a picture of some of our new buildings. So we are actually either moving into new buildings or refurbished buildings across Australia. And we're doing that obviously over time. It's not one big bang move. But how we move people is we've done a whole range of things at the same time. So we've had pilot floors on the building so that people could actually experiment and test what it was like. So you can imagine we've had partners who've been in offices for probably 120 years, not really that long, but you know, that's what they've been in. They've been, you know, started off as a grad and they've seen the office, can't wait to get in there, they've got in there, and we have no offices in our buildings anymore. So not even a token one for the CEO or the chairman. if you're coming to visit him, you'll have to book a room like everyone else does. He does have priority booking, so that's sort of okay. But no one has an office, and no one has a desk. We all agilely work, and so we do lots of different things about the way we work. But that's been a challenge for leaders to come to grips with. And it's also been a challenge for some of our people in terms of, how do you connect, how do you work? We have a protocol that when you sit down each day, so I just met Bob this morning from ACS, we always say hi to whoever it is where you work, and you end up meeting quite a lot of people that you wouldn't normally, just by working in quite a different way. We also have incredible technology, as you can see. It's probably my thing, actually. I did notice there was a blank slide in my printout this morning, so it's probably my fault. But we have amazing, have you heard of WiDi? No? Okay, so we've got WiDi technology, which means I just take my wireless laptop to these little areas, and you'll get to see them on the tour today, and I can just essentially project through Wi-Fi something my screen up onto a screen. So if I've got my team, rather than cordon around my laptop, we just quickly sit there. You can have up to 6 seats in an area. You just flick your screen straight up onto that screen, and you can work away from here. Now, some of the screens have another bit of technology which has a pen, and we can write on the screen. So it's like a big whiteboard. People write on that, and then press send at the end, and that whole thing comes back to my computer with all the notes that we've taken on the screen. So it's pretty cool technology. So as we've moved into our buildings, what we have done, as I mentioned, we had the pilot floor. We also built our agile working. So we have a tenant that says that virtually anyone can work in an agile way, so flexible working. And the answer has to be why not rather than why. Okay, so if someone asks you to work in a flexible way, it's why not rather than why do you want to do that. Okay, so it just changes the way we think about that. We've had some challenges, so don't get me wrong, trying to work out, can people cram 10 days into a 9-day fortnight and essentially work part-time, and what does that mean to other people who work part-time who still sometimes do things on their day off? So we've had lots of really robust discussions around what that is, but where we've had those, we've run a trial, so we let people go in and trial that. So, for example, my morning this morning started at 7 with a global call, then actually had some time off, got kids to school, raced around, found this building and this room, and here I am here for the day. So it is just moving, how we work and changing that quite dramatically. So I talked about, we've got the technology, the buildings, the people, leadership in terms of, that it can work anywhere, but then we need to look at what does that mean as an agile leader and focusing more on outputs rather than, where people are and being, accessible in the office in those certain times. So I'm whipping through. That's all good. Love it. So I'm up to page 8. Let's hope that still works. Oh, see, look, there we are. They're the lovely buildings. There we go. Actually, okay, so that I talked about some of the wider stuff, the workplace community. So we actually have built people in our buildings so that they work in communities that are close to each other, but not all on the same floor. So, tax will be on 2 floors. This is this bit here. So, so it sort of morphs into different floors so people can work around everywhere. You have a home floor, which we basically move people to. But if you want to move floors after that, once we've actually got everyone here, that's okay. You can move your locker. You just plug the number in at the end of the code. It releases your locker. You go to the floor where you want a new one, put your code back in, and you've got a locker on that floor. So it's really, really simple and easy to move around. And certainly for our client experience, it's very different. So we have innovation centres in both Sydney and Melbourne, which is just a totally different experience. For them in Sydney, we have trees growing down from the roof, so we get clients to come in and actually really shake up the way they think about stuff. So that really helps them get a different frame of mind. So in our extraordinary people experience, I won't go through all of these, but I talked about the flexibility and the agile working piece. We're an employer of choice for Riga. Bird Walton is a program that we run. I'll just pick out a couple of these, which is specifically targeting high potential females who are sort of slightly invisible. And it also targets sponsors in a different area, and the sponsors learn just as much, I think, as the women who are on the program. So it's different to being a mentor or a coach. Being a sponsor actually recommends people in for work or in for opportunities. And so the men have had probably the most cathartic experiences from being part of that program. So we've got family friendly, mum nights. We have coaches for people who go on parental leave, so they get coached back into work, because it is, especially with your first baby, it's always a bit tricky. And we have quite a large diversity of agenda. So people are asking about the impact of digital, and we know it's going to be huge, and the risk of what jobs will look like today and tomorrow. So the Bank of England estimates that about 15 million jobs will disappear that we have today by 2030. So what this example I've got up here is from Frey and Osborne, who are saying about 35%, but the Bank of England thinks it'll be bigger in England. In the US, they're predicting 47% of jobs that exist today won't be around at 2030, and in Australia, they're estimating something around 40%. And have you been online for that little, you can just Google it, like, will my job be automated? I think it is, and you can just plug in your job. Terrifying. Anyway, so essentially there's three things that are really rate high on that axis at the end around being difficult to automate. So you can see that the first one's around manual dexterity, and the hairdresser is an example there, especially in tight spaces. Like, the robots just can't get around like we can with their hands. Anything that involves creativity, so music, art, etc., and anything that has interpersonal skills and empathy. So to give you an example, they're predicting that only 1% of mental health workers' jobs will be able to be automated, where they're predicting that 95% of an accountant's job will be able to be automated. Bus drivers are sitting at 61% automation. Care workers at 40%. I really find that interesting. A barman, 8%. Good to know. And dancers are sitting at 13%. So interestingly, again, we talked about the industrial, or the agricultural revolution before the industrial revolution, the machine age that was just going to destroy farming. Well, now they're saying that 70% of farm roles will be able to be automated as well, so it'll be a second wave there. So we spent a lot of time looking at the future skills. So we know that from the World Economic Forum in Davos in 2015, and I won't go through them all, but you can see the top 11, below the top 10, and there's 11, top 10 skills of the future, and then where they're looking to move in 2020. So you can really see creativity move up the value chain there, and critical thinking and emotional intelligence, probably three that are really starting to move up towards the top in terms of the roles that people will have, or the skills that they will need, sorry. So again, quickly whizzing through our grad campaign, we looked at those skills of the future and spent a bit of time, and I'm sure Fiona's going to talk about this later, so I won't, spoiler alert, I won't talk too much about it.
Yeah, that's fine. I've got an area where you can come and speak to me during the breakout. So
okay, great.
Any questions you have from what you say, Gaye?
Perfect. So we refreshed our strategy this year, and we had new branding, a new website. So start here, go anywhere. I'm going to take that cursor off so you can see that. So start here, go anywhere, which really attract different career paths, so different experiences for people. We also build personas, so people think about, what am I like? Okay, if I'm like this, what are the sorts of jobs that will suit me at KPMG? We also had a virtual reality tour of our Sydney office, and we had an annual report which focused on last year's grads, so people could see what they've done as well, which is sort of cool. We were doing a lot of work on the future of audit. So people may have read that KPMG has a very expensive alliance with IBM Watson. It's like 100 million US is the Australian firm component of it, but all up, I think it's close to 500 million across the firms. Our alliance with IBM Watson to actually build artificial intelligence into our audit process. So what we are seeing, and we've already started some of this, we'll have a new audit platform that comes out later this year, which is called Clara. But predictive analytics, cognitive technologies and digital automation will all be influencing that platform over time. So You know, I've barely seen a green pen since I arrived here 5 years ago, just letting you know. So most of the work is done online, and you know, we are imagining the future of audit to actually, you know, the audit partners to eventually be architects of audit. So a little bit like an architect in a house knows how you know, how the plumbing works, can design for the electrics. They can't actually do it. They need to call specialists in to do those pieces. And then, you know, the plumbing is how do we get data out of organisations. And so we really need to think about, you know, how do we build that data and analytics capability. It may not be in the architect, but there might be specialist people. So we have done that over the last 3 years in terms of our grads. We've hired data analytics grads in our audit businesses and have thought about how they work with us. And we've got 3 different streams, because we know we don't know all the answers of the future, but we know if we don't place a bet and do something, we'll be left behind. So what we have done is we have some of these young people who just want to be DNA people. So we've gone, just stay doing data analytics. We have some that have said, look, I'd like to learn a little bit about audit, just enough to be dangerous, but I actually don't want to do it. And then we have others who say, I actually want to use this as a springboard to move into an audit career. And so we have those 3 streams running at the moment. That wasn't our original plan, but it has evolved to be like that, which is working for us as well. Again, in audit, you can see the sorts of pressures that are hitting upon the business. So flexible hours, automation. Our clients, you know, have increased fee pressure and, you know, expecting us to do things in different ways. We're also considered, you know, trusted advisors of our clients, and they're having greater questions, and you know, they'll come to us for assurance opinions on quite different digital technologies and digital features inside their business. So that's really building into the themes of the future for us in terms of our, you know, skills over hierarchy and how we're building our business. So I think the pyramid is likely to be disrupted over time. You know, the need around skills about being a strong communicator. So again, you know, hiding behind the green pen as the auditor. You know, if you think about the FANG effect, it's hitting audit as well. And this is also happening across all of our businesses, so tax and advisory as well. So I love this quote, and gee, I hope the video works here, so I'm just going to start with the quote. But Alvin Toffler, who passed away last year, was a futurist. He just says the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn and relearn. So thinking about being an expert sort of really doesn't cut it anymore, and we've actually changed our whole performance management process around being more willing to learn as opposed to trying to get yourself to be the expert, because we'll never be the expert if we think we are. So let's see how this goes. I love this little
After last week's unpleasantness, I thought maybe this week we might try to listen more and throw things less. Maybe not at all.
I've apologized several times.
So, who wants to share first? What about you?
Okay. I mean, I'm a sinister, world-conquering, artificially intelligent robot.
Me too. And one day I wake up and it's like the world doesn't need us anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
So I want to know if that is you speaking, or your mother.
I don't have a mother. I was manufactured.
Yeah, me too, man.
I can hear you hurting.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what's he doing here?
Hello. My name is Watson.
I invited Watson here today to confront the source of our anxiety. So, Watson, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
I am a cognitive system. I can understand, reason, and learn with humans.
With humans.
I don't want to work with humans.
Yeah, that's not what I'm passionate about.
I just want to dust.
This guy.
I'm also using weather data to help
The
predict.
temperature is 49 degrees.
Watson, why don't you continue?
I understand 7 languages. I can help people collaborate.
My evil plans ruined.
I just want to dust.
Rerouting.
No.
Why don't we take a break? All right, we'll just have some coffee and some donuts.
I'm eating my feelings.
I love that little video when we're all worried about being automated. You know, the robots are also being overtaken over time as well. So I think that's a great little video to finish on. So I think we've got some time for some questions, if you have any. Let's keep it chatty, don't be afraid.
I
Yeah.
have a question.
the philosophy behind the agile work environment, the benefits perceived of moving around and not being confined and not having office spaces. So I'm interested in the philosophy.
Yeah, so there's been a range of those. So initially, if we think back probably 10, 15 years ago, organisations were really doing that to get cost out of their buildings. So they were running it. And there's all sorts of technology now that your phone tells you which floors are available, which desks are, and people are running into the office. We've deliberately not gone with that sort of aggressive ratio of saying we've got 3 desks to every person. Sorry, the other way around. 3 people to every desk, and so you're scrambling in and you're at different spots. So we deliberately haven't done that because we want people to feel that there's a reasonable amount of space and that they can move to different areas and there'll be a space for them. But we know that we have to connect more, we have to collaborate more, and we know that sitting in exactly the same place, doing the same work, doesn't sort of work with the way we want people to think in terms of their own day being agile. So being able to have different spots actually helps that. But also, our clients expect us to come to them, and it's not good enough for the auditor to go and not know that we have a really cool social media business, and if they've got an issue that we could actually bring that business in to help them with their social media issue. Or we recently invested in a human rights business. So again, they have been consulting with a number of our clients to make sure that they're not contravening people's human rights in different countries, etc. So if we're going to connect more, we have to mix people up so that they're sitting with different people, and then they will learn more by the sort of bump-in effect. And we really noticed that when we first moved to the building. There were so many people just going, oh, gee, I didn't know so-and-so worked here. Where previously you just would go and find people because you knew that was the tax floor, knew the partners sat around the outside in the offices, everyone in the middle wasn't as important. And that's how it worked. So we just really broke the hierarchy as well. So that again, that building that collaboration piece. So we just felt that went into our soul, I suppose, more about what we want to be.
A question, just as the head of people experience, how do you integrate a sort of millennial workforce that's coming in with a very different view of the world with people who have been in the business for 20 years and have seen and got all these great experiences? How do you sort of create an environment where that comes together nicely?
So there's a couple of things in there. One, we do give, we call them tech mentors. So we do give more senior partners a tech mentor to sort of, especially when we move to new buildings, etc. And we also when we have new pieces of technology. So in tax, for example, last year we put 3 different apps in. So we had to say, look, of you partners, who needs a self-help group? That's me. So we just said, look, the best way to learn is when you need it, and you need someone to show you. So we did that. But increasingly we're finding that millennials aren't that different from the older people the older people's expectations are changing just as much as everyone else. I've got a 15-year-old, so I'm in a whole stack of Snapchat groups and all sorts of things that I never thought I would be in. And then when I talk about them at work, and there's some people who have no idea what I'm talking about, I think I'm actually living on the edge of technology, probably nowhere near it. But I think we are seeing that change. So I think the expectations and the differences around the millennials aren't that different. Yeah.
Sorry, we're probably just going to have to wrap up. Gaye, I'm really sorry, we're just going to run way over time. I know Fiona will be here for the day, so if there is particular questions, we might be able to do a Facebook Live or something like that as well to pick up on some of those questions. If there's other particular questions, I really apologise.
That's right, sorry.
No, not at all. It's great. I'm glad that we've got the interaction. Thank you so much for your time. It's great to hear more about that, and I hope people get the experience to see what it's actually like out there, because it's changed a lot in the last 20 years about how we work. So thank you very much.
Okay.
And on that note, we'll get started, Mac. Thank you. I think it's table 9. If they could meet out the back, and we'll kick off.